So we have two dogs, and we rescued both of them. One is German Shepherd. The other one, it's a Beagle mix. We thought she would be German Shepherd
Oh,
when we adopted her. So we thought she's going to grow big, but she's a tiny German Shepherd. She did not grow. So that we have, and
mm.
we have one giant schnauzer.
Oh,
We
wow.
always call him the other dog, and he is both are rescued, right? So he's a pointer mix. We
Mhm.
came, and my daughter has one who is a poodle and border collie mix. He's
Mhm.
very intelligent.
I bet
Yeah.
he's feisty and he's smart. Which one was the one that runs the house? You were telling me like when everybody goes home, there's one you and your husband want to think you own and run the household, but one
Yes,
of the dogs
yes,
does.
I presume it's the
yes.
small
Our
one.
old
Yeah.
lady, the tiny German Shepherd. She's 17.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. How long have you
She's
had her for?
We adopted her when she was, I think, 4 months old.
Oh my God.
So for
Wow, you
16 and a
guys
half years, we have her. And
phenomenal.
oh yeah, it's really phenomenal. I think maybe it's because of Beagle genes. If she would have been German Shepherd, I don't think she would have survived this long.
Yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
the reason we still have the house in East Coast, because I don't think she can survive the change.
Mm.
And she has that place as her territory. So
Yeah.
Certainly.
she doesn't want, we don't want her to move anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What dog food do you feed her? 17 odd years
Share the
is a big
secret.
feat for any dog.
It,
So
absolutely. And she still thinks that she's 10. So, which is the best part of it. She
Yes.
still acts like she's young. So,
The young mentality. Max, what was that company that's dangerously close to coming up with the life extending technology for the dogs? What was that again?
it's called Loyal is the
mhm,
company, and they're focusing on, I think it's like an offshoot of cellular longevity, which is another business, but they're focused purely on initially big dogs. I think they're trying to find
mhm.
some treatments, and they've had some recent very positive data come out, but ultimately looking at extending the lifespan of your furry friends. I think dogs and cats, and then
Mhm.
hey, what's to
Wow.
say it's not going to move into humans? I think there's plenty of other
It
businesses who are
it
looking at
might, it
researching
might.
that.
Exactly, it might.
Yeah, 17 years would be, yeah, I would take that with any dog. You
Mm.
expect 12, maybe 15, but that's outstanding.
Welcome to the i-Pharm GxPodcast, your go-to source for insights and discussions on all things GxP in the life sciences industry.
Join us as we dive into the realms of cutting-edge advancements, explore groundbreaking ideas, and meet the thought leaders and visionaries who are shaping this space.
Each month, we'll bring you engaging conversations, expert interviews, and thought-provoking stories. We're happy to have you here.
I guess tying in, since we're talking dogs and we're talking a little bit finally, cellular engineering and some pharmaceutical stuff, maybe Vishali, we
Yep.
can transition out of the personal background into some of the technical stuff, your journey in the industry, and how we find ourselves here and setting ourselves up for the rest of this, if you don't mind teeing us up like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And first of all, thank you, Philip, and thank you, Max, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And absolutely, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Vaishali Shukla, and I have a PhD in pharmaceutical science in the field of cell and gene therapy. I also have, let's just say, more than one master's degree. So in pharmaceutical economics, regulatory affairs, and botany and microbiology. So you might say that I'm overeducated, but the real education came with gradually increasing my responsibility. I have been in the industry for more than 2 decades now, and I started in the lab, and now I had the global manufacturing quality organization at Kite. Um, and Kite has specializes in cell therapy. And for some of the most unmet needs in oncology and blood cancer, in the rare disease conditions. So, in a nutshell, I mean, my journey is all about listening and learning. While, in my opinion, it's very important. This is very important as you work your way up the ladder and you bring with you the experience at all level of organization,
Mm.
right? When you start from the lab and when you reach at the leading at the place where you're leading the entire global manufacturing quality organization. We have multiple sites. Some of them are here in California and in East Coast and also in Amsterdam. And we are working globally now, and it's the largest cell therapy manufacturing company right now in the world.
Yep. So from humble beginnings as a master's student multiple times and then getting your PhD, you've used that, you say overeducated, but I think you're perfectly prepared for the situation you find yourself in. You talk about leading global organizations, progressing your experience, applying some of the more humble tasks in the industry, lab related stuff, raw materials, and then knowing where it comes from to the point of running the largest commercial CAR T manufacturing organization in the world. What kind of role do you think the quality organization and the culture that begets plays in your specific company, but larger in the industry as it pertains to innovation and this bleeding edge of technology? Because there's some juxtaposition and inherent counter forces within there. So maybe unpack that for us so we understand.
Yes, absolutely. As quality is in heart of everything we do. So it's not just an organization. It's in everything. It's in the mindset, it's the culture in everything we do in pharmaceutical industry, irrespective of, or in any other industry as well. Irrespective of just the cell therapy, any other industry as well, you have that quality is heart of everything we do. So it's and quality, I always say, it's not just about ticking boxes, right? It's about creating that mindset. So in our company, quality organization, and in my past companies as well, quality organization plays a very crucial role in the shaping that mindset, creating that quality culture. I never consider quality as a role police. I always consider that we are in this game, partnering with the rest of the organization and working towards saving the patients, making the drug and making this life-saving products for our patients. And it's the same mission wherever we go. So I think that it's a backbone that supports culture at any company. And we make sure that we, the people and my leaders, they feel empowered to be creative. And especially in cell therapy industry, you take risks, but you are always within the boundaries of quality and compliance. It's a kind of a delicate balance. And when it works, actually, that's when you will see real innovation taking place.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The push to innovate within the confines of compliance and regulations is very difficult. And you have something like the tech industry where Google will innovate till the point of a regulation needing to be created. Pharmaceuticals are the other way. We work towards the regulation. So how do you find those two Venn diagrams that overlap? You're clearly in the middle of those two circles. Maybe get a little granular with us, nothing proprietary, but it's not easy to put that culture in, and to challenge and work with regulators is different than to accept their regulations and work to them. So speak to the nuance there if you're open to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always it's a journey, right? When finding that sweet spot between your compliance and innovation. It's not one overpowering the other, but it's just the balance. It's about finding harmony. We have processes and systems that would ensure that you meet all the regulations. That's the baseline. And I think one more thing which is very important, I must say, that it starts with the leadership, setting the tone. Our leaders, they emphasize the need to compliance, but also give us that freedom and also encourages us to think outside the box. It's not about afraid to try new things, and especially when you work in cell therapy industry, rapidly changing environment. But it's working on the new things, but doing it responsibly.
Yes.
So you have to create a culture where people in your organization, they understand the importance of compliance. That is must, but also celebrates your innovation. And it requires a really robust framework you have to put in place. And you have to make sure that the compliance is not hindrance. It's a guide. So you have to ensure to put the processes and structure in place that don't stifle your creativity, but rather support it. And we have these frameworks in place, right? Especially when you create a space for communication, you are learning, working with different ideas, and also addressing pain points because the industry is evolving and it's fairly new when you compare it with the traditional biologics. And especially in cell therapy, it's an autologous. It's not a one size fits all approach you would have. It is more about understanding the balance, that work for us and also works for our industry and also the patients we aim to serve because the patients do not have a whole lot of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a significant moment or a pivotal moment or key influence throughout your career that really solidified your passion, understanding for, and want to really spread this message? You've led quality organizations, some phenomenal businesses, and we all know that your current business is an exceptional example of what a highly compliant organization can look like within the boundaries of innovation, which again is that tightrope that we discussed. Yeah, was there a point in your career where it clicked and you thought, this is really where I can see myself being able to add the most value to the organization and to the industry? And what was that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm coming from academia, and when I came into the industry, I was fortunate enough to work in multiple different modalities, work with really great scientists. So the passion was always there to serve patients. And in especially, so the moment clicking is when you see in your family someone goes through the cancer and when you see there is a need for cure, when you see there's a need for treatment, it really drives your passion even more. So I was always in that mindset. And I'm working here at Kite, which is and I'm not saying just because I'm working here, but it's a very patient centric company. And especially when you are making autologous cell therapy, every lot is a patient. So you
Yeah.
feel even more connected to what you're doing, and you will feel even more connected to the patient.
Mm.
We hear, we've done a few of these now, and almost every episode, Max, someone talks about the patient, if not in passing, but in depth. And there's been some very moving stories that we've heard from Joe Chi's daughter showing up on site to the place where they produce the medical device that she needs for her issues and stuff like that. Without going into too much detail, Vaishali, is there a personal note there? Because cancer's touched everyone, I believe, on this call and probably in the world in some way, in at least a second or third degree fashion. Without asking too much of you, is there a specific moment, a human moment for you that made it, this is my life, my reality? It was a grandparent for me, but I'm just curious to know if you're open to sharing a little more on that, because it's very, you can't say enough about the people driving the purpose of the industry, really.
Absolutely. My family members, and I'm also a survivor. So it's always close to my heart working in the oncology field.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you. That I couldn't drive it home more clearly. I think if anybody listens to that, that's all you have to say. So bringing back to the quality side of things, how important is, speaking of people, right, being inspired by them to do the hard work, drive the culture that you want, move out of the lab to leading a large organization? How do you go about finding the right people? And how important is it to find the right folks that will internalize that culture? Can you grab anybody off the street and give them a one-page piece of paper, or is there a little more to it? Lay it on me.
I wish it's that simple where you can grab someone out of state. And we do say when we write our procedures that you have to write in a way where people can understand when they are coming from the street. But it's a fantastic question. But especially in the cell therapy or wherever you go, you need a certain skill set. And I always felt that people, their mindset and the culture they bring to the table it's a, I would say, secret sauce, which in driving your innovation, also maintaining compliances, because you cannot come with that mindset where you are not open to changes, right?
Yes.
So innovation, and especially in the field of cell therapy, everything is changing constantly. And you would see that I would be saying this multiple times, but you
Yep.
do require a certain mindset when you are working in the field of innovation of cell therapy. You need to be able to or open to support creativity. You shouldn't be afraid of challenges. You should be open to pushing your boundaries, because I always feel people who work in the industry are the individual, or these individuals are the actually engine that is behind these groundbreaking discoveries, right? We have so many great scientists who are working in this. And I, as much as it would be nice for someone to bring from the street, but it's finding individuals who can understand the importance of your compliance and also understand the innovation and are open to changes, right? Because with innovation comes the changes. So you need to have that mindset that you are open for that. So bringing the right people, it brings a collaborative spirit. It brings commitment to quality. It brings a kind of a forward thinking attitude. It's about the right mindset you have. So
Yeah.
you need to have folks in the cell therapy industry, especially, who are open to changes, who would think outside the box, who would challenge the status quo. It's just dream big with innovation, where we were just few years ago with cell therapy. And
Yeah.
it was like we might not even be here. No one would have predicted the fast growth in our industry. In our industry, as I mentioned, is full of great scientists. And I had the really I was fortunate, and I had the privilege to work with these scientists who bring the discovery to the forefront. And I have a great admiration for them. So the right people, the right mindset, it creates a culture where compliance and your innovation not only coexist, but flourish together.
Yeah.
Certainly. And how do you see a quality culture in an organization like Kite, where it is a new technology? You're going to be bringing people in, and by the sounds of things, really indexing on whether you want to bring them into your organization based on their mindset, maybe more so than their pure technical background. Because a few years ago, there weren't a lot of people who had experience, 10, 20 years of experience working a cell therapy business, because it didn't really exist, right? How do you see the quality culture at an organization like Kite comparing to maybe a larger scale, more established big pharma, that there's always going to be innovation and companies trying to find new treatments, but maybe their foot is slightly less on the gas than somewhere like Kite that really is going into a new innovative space? How do those quality cultures compare, and how do you change someone's mindset if you were to bring them in from that space into more of an innovative, the space that we're talking about now?
Yes, yeah, and like I mentioned, right, you have to have that open mindset. It's a rapidly changing field. You work on an innovation, but your competitor is also working on another innovation. And it's a kind of, you have to be ahead of that. You have to have that forward thinking, right? You have to be ahead in the game. So being compliant and also fostering innovation, especially in the field of cell therapy, I would say is a delicate dance. And at Kite, it's a dance we have become quite good at. I would say one of the key strategies, what we have is the creating a robust quality management system. That should be the backbone of everything you would do. You have to create clear standards, continuous monitoring, and also your commitment to meet the regulatory requirement.
Yeah.
Technology is another thing which plays a very big role, I would say, in the cell therapy industry. For example, automation, it not only boosts your efficiency, but it minimizes your human error. So you have to bring the individuals, you have to bring the scientists who have that passion, right, to
Mm.
come look at the new ideas, new technology, how they can put it. I empower my leaders and their teams also to diagnose roadblocks
Mm.
and to help resolve them. So our players, especially in my quality organization, are not on the sideline. So they are, I would say, in very much in the game. They are partnering with all of our, the network wide, working with them. And we, in my organization, since I have mentioned that we have multiple sites, our motto is act locally, but think globally. So it's just about breaking down those silos. You have to foster an environment where all the different perspectives can come together to drive innovation. And when you have people from the traditional industry, sometimes it's difficult for them to change that mindset. But you have to, when you come to cell therapy, I always say that, hey, forget about what you learned. Just come with a new, come with completely like don't have your blinders on. Think about changes and be open to it.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
Yeah, and you talk about a little technology, a little automation in there. I'll hold Max back on the AI for a second and talk about some of the pressing technical challenges that these folks who have the right mentality you mentioned that you brought in are handling. Things like, for example, the biggest one that I think we've talked about in the past is the scale up bottleneck, right? Where you find yourself hitting something. What, in broad strokes, have you guys done to overcome that? Is the scale up, scale out balance? How are you approaching that? Again, nothing proprietary, but in a broad stroke sense, how do you think of that problem and how do you come to address it on either side there?
Absolutely. So when you say scale up, so scaling up in cell therapy, it's a very different than your traditional manufacturing scaling up, really. Because it's right now only one autologous has been approved, but majority of the cell therapy, one allogenic has been approved, but majority of the cell therapies are autologous.
Yep.
These are personalized and individualized. So when we talk about scaling up in cell therapy, what we are referring is the increasing the capacity to handle a large number of treatments. So that is large number of patient lots simultaneously. When you scale up in your traditional small molecules, so you can increase the production of your pills, which can treat from 5,000 to 15,000 patients. You can increase your batch size. But when you add 10,000 patients in a cell therapy settings, scaling out is the better way to describe, not scaling up, right? So you're not just increasing the batch size, but you are adding 10,000 new batches.
Yep.
Because each patient would require its own batch in the autologous setting.
Exactly.
And you have to work. It's the balancing. How we do here at Kite is, like I said, scale out. We have multiple different manufacturing sites. We have our own vector manufacturing facility. And also we have a very robust supply chain because supply chain bottlenecks, especially when you see the number of cell therapy companies are now, so the supply chain can also be challenging. You have to ensure that you have a good system in place to source your raw materials. You have to have a logistic of getting your cells from point A to point B. It's like orchestrating a complex dance, you know. And let's not forget, these cells have a ticking clock.
Yes.
Because these patients, they do not have a whole lot of time. So it's thrilling. It's thrilling. Cell therapy scaling out or scaling up means increasing the capacity. It comes with its own challenges, but it's about tackling all the challenges, hurdles you have in ensuring that you have you're staying kind of in harmony with your supply chain and all the organization when you're working with hospitals, and also in harmony with regulatory expectations as well.
How do you mentioned this harmony and the dance that you're doing and all the stuff that's going on. It occurs to me there with the increased time crunch on this, there's increased risk as well based on a blip in the supply chain, something not hitting exactly at the right temperature and pH being a threat somewhere along the line based on the time frame. Is there increased risk in this type of a thing, or is it just a different risk management model that you would apply, or are they one and the same? Because it occurs to me that time crunch must drive the risk up in some way, and how do you mitigate on something like that?
Absolutely. It's a great question, especially when you are working in the autologous cell therapy space. Efficiency, and I would say because of the rapidly changing nature of the industry, agility are the dynamic duo of manufacturing. So efficiency is very crucial. Regarding the risk is always there, right?
Yep.
You need to make sure that you follow the compliance. Risk is there in your traditional industry as well. But in autologous, because on the other end, the patients are waiting for that personalized treatment, right? So you have to make sure that your manufacturing process is smooth without compromising the quality, of course. But there is so little room for error since on the other end you have a patient. And on top of that, each patient cell are unique. So you have to make sure that you manufacture, you process all these therapies in a very timely manner. So which is different than your traditional manufacturing. When you
Yep.
have an issue with a lot, you go back and manufacture another lot. It might not impact the patient immediately, but here when you are making an individualized lot, individualized batch for that patient who is waiting there. You, if something goes wrong, you don't have time. Sometimes the patients don't have time to wait for that. So it's a kind of a delicate balance. And on top of that, especially with the cell therapy industry, we need to be nimble because there are lots of new discoveries, changing regulations.
Yes.
So you need to have an agile manufacturing process, which could adapt quickly to the changes. And you, it depends, whatever the changes or the demand is. It could be you have to increase the capacity to meet demand. All of a sudden you have, okay, you were making 50 lots per week. Now you have been asked to make 100 lots per week. It's based on the demand, right?
Yeah.
And you might have to change or tweak your processes also because you need to stay on that cutting edge of innovation. And I always say an Indian old proverb, it says, where your needle goes, the thread follows.
Yeah.
So the needle is innovation and discovery, which follows. So you have your thread, which is the manufacturing, which always follows. So
it's interesting. That certainly makes a lot of sense when you take a step back from it. But the number of businesses that you speak to, that there are different departments butting heads generally with quality, and there's operations trying to get product out the door, there's quality trying to pull things back and saying, hey, we're doing this right. It occurs to me that obviously in an ideal scenario, quality is a partnership that is across all of the different departments. Every single functional arm of a business is tied in with quality and vice versa, so that everyone inherently has that quality mindset. How do you go about instilling that in an organization? And what are the things you need to look for to avoid when you are maybe going down the path of having siloed organizations whereby there is room for people to butt heads with disagreements around quality and culture in the pursuit of innovation or getting product out to patients?
yes, yeah, finding that sweet spot between compliance and innovation is always a journey, irrespective of which industry you work in. And it's not about one overpowering the other, but it's about finding that harmony. You have to set up the processes and the system in place, which would ensure that you are meeting all the regulatory requirements. So that's the baseline. And you have to have kind of a robust framework also in place, making sure that individuals who are coming with that mindset, which they are not afraid to of challenges. And you need folks who aren't afraid to think outside the box and who are willing to take calculated risks, because that is also important. That right mindset is very crucial in integrating compliance with innovation.
Mm.
So finding that right balance is very crucial. And as I mentioned earlier, that's when leadership comes in place, because they comes in play. Leadership creates that kind of tone with the industry, within the organization.
Yeah, and with that leadership in place, that harmonious mentality, the nimble processes, and the right people there, as we look to the future of the industry, a lot of folks and a lot of companies are looking to follow in the footsteps that Kite and yourself have gone down. What are some things that you would highlight for them if they're listening to this and they go, we're in late stage trials, we have an eye towards commercialization, we want to build relationships with regulators? What kind of advice do you give them? And also, what are a few trends you're looking to in the next coming years? Say, hey, I have as someone with the commercial acumen that not all scientists possess in the industry. What are you looking down the road for? So things to highlight for them as they approach that inflection point, and then a couple of industry trends you see a few years down the line that are either good, bad, or at least influential.
Yeah. So to answer your first part of your question, what kind of advice I would give? And I always say, you compliance is an integral part, and especially I'm coming from quality, so I'm talking from that standpoint. But you have to make sure that the compliance is not a hindrance to your success. So you have to make compliance work with automation, innovation, make compliance more manageable. So you can free up your talented team, and that's what worked, right, for Kite. That's what I'm saying. We freed up our talented team to focus on the creative aspects of their work. You need to empower your leaders. You need to encourage a culture of cross-functional collaboration. You need to break down silos. You need to commit to continuous improvement. And also, you need to be connected to this large industry ecosystem. This synergy is what would help you navigate that intricate balance you would have between compliance and innovation in this, I would say, dynamic field of cell therapy.
Yep. And then a few trends off the back of that is people internalize that advice and apply it to their organizations or career. What do you see coming down? Because you sit in a unique perch, right, atop the mountain, so to speak, right? You're the needle that the thread's following in cell therapy. What do you see coming down from your unique vantage point?
I always say it might change. The way rapidly the cell therapy is changing, evolving. Right now, autologous is there. People are working on T-charge is there in the technology where we are trying to look into in vivo. It's technology is rapidly changing. So I would say the future of cell therapy is a page turner in the really good book. It's very exciting right now. Technology is evolving so fast, so rapidly that it's almost dizzying. We are seeing breakthroughs, innovations, discoveries. It what was a science fiction, if you think of it, a few years ago. So it's industry is on a fast track of continuous improvement, and it's really exciting. Then this dynamic kind of nature of our industry itself. We and I would say I'm really fortunate to work in this time and era where I'm witnessing the progress and also being a part of it as well.
Yeah.
So it's being part of kind of that movement where we are working in rewriting the endless possibilities for patient care, which we wouldn't have thought about, or which we wouldn't have known that can be there and can be successful. So the potential to treat, even cure these diseases at a cellular level is groundbreaking. It's really groundbreaking. And let's not forget the collective knowledge and collaboration. All these scientists around the world, researchers, and professionals who are working in the industry are coming together and sharing their knowledge, their insights, and also learning from each other. Um, it's really exciting time, and I would say it's a kind of a collective brain power that's propelling us in that uncharted territories. Yeah, and challenges is always there. Challenges will pop up. That's, I would say, nature of progress.
Yep.
But I always say when there is a challenge, there is an opportunity for innovation. So
Certainly.
exciting times. Future is bright. And I am, like I said, I'm thrilled to be part of this journey.
Yeah, you're right. Technology gets more and more impressive, more and more powerful every year, and it's those deltas year by year are getting exponentially larger as well. The amount of technology that we're going to see, the molding of AI, ML, automation, in silico testing, all of the various things that are going to supercharge the industry. I agree with you. I think we're living in the most exciting time. And working at an organization that is really at the forefront of things, how do you maintain that innovative mindset? So there have been so many businesses who have come and disappeared over the ages, and they brought something new to the market, but then there's a level of complacency that comes when you get a drug on the market or get a product out there that is really cutting edge. You maybe start to take a step back from kicking those doors down constantly and trying to innovate. How do you keep that innovative mind kind of space over at Kite? And what do you see is going to be helpful in continuing that over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, and like I said, in order for having that, it's the mindset, and you have to give that flexibility to the individuals who are working in the industry to come up with shouldn't be afraid of bringing the ideas or the suggestions on the table. So that is very important. And I think at Kite, we foster that kind of behavior, that kind of culture where everyone, like I said, in my team, they all are empowered. And their teams, not only my leaders, their team is also empowered to come up with this solution, to come up with new ideas. So we encourage that, we foster that kind of culture. And it comes from the leadership, and which is very important, because if we have and we reach out to our individuals, we reach out to our teams. When I go out and meet my team at different sites, I always ask them, hey, if you have any idea, if you think of any idea to be more efficient, please make sure, please feel free to share it with us. And then we can see if we can implement that or not. So there, we encourage that kind of behavior where efficiency is rewarded, where innovation is rewarded. And it's really important for you to be the industry leader in this field, to have that kind of mindset, to have that kind of culture in your company.
It's clear to me from the things you're saying, the themes that I won't re-summarize here. There is a formula and a mentality more than a technical acumen that has got yourself and Kite to where they are right now, and also gives you confidence that staying in that positive, innovative, and harmonious mind state will keep you there. It doesn't sound at all like you're nervous about falling behind to in vivo treatments or any of the allogenic things that come along, autologous that come along. That you don't seem worried about it because you're the ones innovating, you're open to sharing and internalizing. And maybe to me, that's the theme of this whole thing, is the hope of that, and to committing to it in the good. And when you're on the top, when you're on the rise, always having that, and that continuous improvement and learning mentality seems to be the major piece from here. But Vaishali, to bring us home, is that correct? Could you summarize those broad strokes, and what what got you here, and what will keep you guys there as we look forward before we wrap on the podcast.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And you summarized it very well. And working in this industry, and as I mentioned, I'm fortunate enough to work in this era where we are working in the life-saving technologies, these groundbreaking new innovative technology where you are working and treating some of the diseases, curing some of the diseases where you didn't think of it a possibility. You didn't think of it as a possibility 10 years ago. As we talk about cell therapy and the future of cell therapy, we are basically diving into, I would say, the world of endless possibilities, whether it's the personalized medicine or working in allogenic. There are lots of possibilities. There are lots of options and innovative ideas. There are still many companies are working on. So I always say it's you are staring at a canvas where we are still painting that masterpiece. So it's this canvas, I would say, is filled with kind of hope, innovation, and potential to rewrite the narrative of healthcare in the coming years. So it brings that hope of groundbreaking advancement and new technology that could redefine our understanding, also treatment of these diseases and patients, level. So it's finding new ways to tackle health challenges. It's all about, I would say, bringing hope and a touch of magic to the world of healthcare. So exciting stuff
Yes.
right now, and really bright future.
Yeah, you always hear you got to build a facility, validate it, bring in quality, and then put the magic in. So you hire a wizard last every time you bring on your team. Just kidding.
Yes.
But Vaishali, thank you so much for going through all of this with us. To me, this was incredibly insightful. I love the cell and gene therapy space in our industry, and I think the innovation that it represents is very American and capitalistic. And I think it's beneficial to society when people want something for the greater good. So that excites me tremendously. I can't thank you enough for doing this. We appreciate your time. Any last words? We'd be happy to let you close out for us, but I think you've done wonderful today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Philip and Max. Thanks for this opportunity in giving to thanks for giving me this opportunity to share my experience working in the cell therapy industry. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's been fantastic, very insightful. I'm sure a lot of people can gain a lot of
Yep.
really useful
Yep.
information from
Yep.
this. So thanks again, Vaishali.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the GX Podcast. Please join the discussion on our LinkedIn page, and we invite you to reach out with any questions, topics, or recommendations from future guests.